Those that are familiar with us know that we've built a platform debating extremists with an anti-Israel and anti-Semitic agenda. Amongst the people that we've debated are jailed jihadis and far-right leaders. In fact, we even debated Generation Identity's Tom Dupre. He was the then leader, and following a series of on and off camera interactions with us, he resigned from the party. Now we hope that we played a small role in his decision making. Similarly, we've built bridges and formed friendships with many anti-Israel activists. Most recently at Al-Quds, we made friends with a prominent Palestinian activist. When positive ground can't be reached, we use these debates to highlight the huge volumes of hatred coming from these groups. Truthfully, we had no idea how racist our debate with Mark Collett would become. Hundreds of neo-Nazis flooded our YouTube channel with genocidal messages. I'll share some of the excerpts from this debate, but viewing discretion is advised.
Jews are disproportionately involved in various media, including Hollywood, the press, and the porn industry. They are also overrepresented in banking and campaign finance, and vastly overrepresented when it comes to pushing for mass immigration, multiculturalism, feminism, and other anti-family practices. They were also the people behind communism, the most destructive ideology in history. And well, if you want to start talking about massacres, should we start talking about the millions that were massacred by the Bolshevik government, which was largely Jewish?
Perfect. So let's go there, Mark, because I think this has been the problem with this debate. You will frame it, you will say, look at this terrible thing. Look at this terrible event. Here, look, I found a Jew, Kaganovich. I found a Jew, Trotsky. I found a Jew, Marx. But let's look at the communists. Let's look at the Soviet state. Every single leader of the communists of the USSR wasn't Jewish, he was white. Take the Holodomor. I know you like to talk about the Holodomor. Do you know how many of the generals or the leaders within the Communist Party were tried by the Ukrainian court posthumously? I think there was 6 or 7. Molotov, Stalin, there was many, only one of them was a Jew. And he wasn't in charge. Stalin was in charge. But what do? It's a Jew. It's Kaganovich. We found a Jew, therefore it's a Jew. You take someone like Marx. Do you know what Marx said about the Jews, Mark? Have you read Marx on the Jewish question? It's a book. It's a paper I'm sure you'd like the sound of the title of. What Marx writes in the Jewish question is, what is the worldly religion of the Jew? Huckstering. What is his worldly god? Money. Who does that sound like, Mark? It sounds a little bit like you, because what you will do, you will look at everything that you dislike in the world and you will blame the Jew. In every shadow, in everything that you see that you don't like, you see a Jew behind it. But when people like you, Mark, had power, that was Nazi Germany. What happened? 6 million of our people died. 6 million. Almost everyone on this call, with the exception of maybe Ralph, will have lost family members in that tragedy. And so it's what you do with power that counts. And Israel, despite what you say, has not genocided millions of people. Israel has only ever fought defensive wars. It's repelled Arab invasions and all the while protected the very ethnic group that it's supposed to be at war with.
So let's look at Israel in terms of its multiculturalism. Let's look at the fact that the Arab parties in the Knesset, at the last Knesset, obviously there are elections now, made up the 3rd largest party in the Knesset. You can't go to the Knesset and ignore the fact that there are 15 or 16 Arab members of the Israeli parliament. Yes, Israel is a Jewish state. Yes, Israel has Jewish symbols for its state. But how is that any different? I live in the UK, where our head of state is also the head of the Church of England. My national holidays here are not Jewish holidays. They are Christmas Day, they are Boxing Day, they're Easter, they're Good Friday, they're Easter Monday. There's no difference between any of those. That doesn't make Israel an ethno-state.
While the video was removed for violating YouTube's guidelines, it really clarified one thing for us, and that is the threat that the far right poses to Jews. Recently, we ran a poll on Twitter where 1,600 people voted on which community posed the greatest threat to Jews. Only 14% said the far right, while 48% said the far left. As a community, we've been so focused on combating left-wing anti-Semitism that we've taken our eye off the right, and if we continue to do this, it'll be at our peril. Populist right-wing movements that focus on issues like immigration and freedom of speech have essentially provided cover or acted as gateways to something far more sinister. The internet has changed everything. These once fringe fascist movements have been dragged out from the shadows and now speak to huge audiences online. Their ideas must be refuted, their lies defeated, and their hatred exposed for the world to see. The far right is marching, and we all have a duty to stop them.